thank you everyone for hopping on. We are very excited today to have the legend, Steve Trang, joining us. He is master of his craft. I had the pleasure of seeing him live in person at the first Creative Real Estate Live event earlier this year in May, hosted by Brandon Simmons, who's also often in appearance here in the Amplify world. He does our Wednesday live deal help coaching. So Steve, thank you again for being here with us. We have lots of people hopping on. I'm sure we'll have lots more people joining here soon. We just are super grateful and excited to be able to learn from you today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And again, it's an honor, right? When Tom reached out to me, well, when Brandon reached out to me and asked if I would talk to Tom, of course I'll talk to Tom. He was very nice. I met him at the Creative Summit, and I got a chance to talk to Tom. I was like, hey, I like what you did. Would you be willing to share that with my group? I was like, of course. I want to help as many people as I can. So the more people we can help, the better.
Awesome. Well, let me just give a quick background for anybody that's attending this call that is not currently an Amplify My Business customer or client. We often bring in guest speakers to provide some great training workshops. We often don't charge for them. And Steve was nice enough to be able to come on here and provide the training for all of you. Steve specifically specializes in helping companies close more deals with less leads. He is completely focused on helping you overcome seller objections and getting out of your own way. We often create some of our own mistakes throughout the selling process as real estate investors. There's such simple little things that we're doing that we may not realize or acknowledge that are getting on our own way. And so we're excited for Steve to be able to share and teach us today some of those tactics, tips, and to help us learn how to close more deals with less leads. So I'm going to basically turn the time over to you, Steve. I'll be managing the chat and the Q&A. And I'm sure we'll have lots of questions. If you do have questions, feel free to use either function, the chat or the Q&A down there at the bottom. If you do use the chat, make sure you click to send to everyone. So that way everyone can see your question and everyone can get value as we answer them. But thanks again, Steve. I'll just kind of turn the time over to you.
All right, I appreciate it. And just remind me, I have an hour?
Yeah, an hour. You're welcome to go over that if you want. But
okay.
Yeah, we have it blocked out for an hour. So.
All right, perfect. I just want to make sure that I leave enough time for people to ask questions, because it's great to talk and all that other stuff, right? It's fun. However, I don't want anyone walking away with unanswered questions. So
definitely.
We'll go through this.
And at the end, if we want, we can promote more people to panelists. We can bring them on here and we can do some live Q&A and stuff like that too. So.
All right, perfect. So today, what we're going to be talking about, what I'm really passionate about is really, like Brian mentioned, closing more deals without necessarily spending more money. And the important thing here is we want to get rid of delays, smoke screens, lies, and games. And there was this movie, Eurotrip. I actually watched it again because it's on Amazon Prime right now, at least the beginning part. And there's this scene where Scotty and Fiona, right? She walks up to him and she says, he's graduating high school. His parents are there. His grandparents are there. And she walks up to him and says, I'm breaking up with you. And he says, like, what's going on? And she says, well, I'm tired of all the lying and all the cheating. And he looks at her and he says, I don't know what you're talking about. She says, I know, right? And the reason why I bring this up is because this is exactly what's happening to you at your appointments if you are allowing the homeowner, right, to run the show. A lot of us, we have this sales process that has been built into us, and it's our default selling system. And if we don't modify our selling process, we're going to default to the homeowner's agenda. If we default to the homeowner's agenda, this is kind of where we run into problems. And so how many of you guys on this call, you can put in a chat box or raise some hand, have ever had a homeowner ask you for a price, and when you told them the price, because you want to be, an honest, transparent person, when you give them your price, they only got offended, right? Or how many of you guys ever had a homeowner at the very end of the call or your appointment told you they needed to think about it? They needed to talk to so-and-so or whatever. They're going to stall. Or how many of you guys have ever had a homeowner tell you that they needed to think about it And then you found out they shopped your offer. And finally, after shopping your offer, you get that property on an email blast. You guys had that experience before? I could tell you what's most aggravating for me is the last time you ever communicate with a homeowner is the DocuSign envelope was open, and that's it. That was the last communication. You never heard from them again, right? If that's happened to you, that's what we're going to focus on today. And so the bad news I have for you guys is that this is 100% your fault. Because if you at any time tell the homeowner in a professional manner, of course, you're not allowed to think about it. At the end of our time together, it's gonna be yes, it's gonna be no, you're not allowed to think about it. Now, this might come across as kind of harsh. So I'll show you guys how we do this professionally. And so what is the homeowner's process today, right? When they reach out to you or you reach out to them, what is the process? They're gonna lie to you, they're gonna steal from you, they're gonna mislead you, and they're gonna hide from you. Now, this might come across as kind of harsh, but some of you guys may have experienced this already, right? And the reason why is that the selling process as it exists today has been around forever, right? They say that, this is gonna sound really horrible, but they say, prostitution is the oldest industry known to man. In reality, I make the argument, services cannot be rendered until services have been sold. So someone had to sell it first, right? So sales has been around forever. And with sales being around forever, our natural defenses against sales, we've learned it from our adults, the people that we look up to in our lives. And so this lying, stealing, misleading, hiding, we say this kind of harshly against the homeowners, but in reality, this is what we all do, each of us, even on this call. And so what are some lies we get? Have you ever had a homeowner call you on your direct mail piece or your Facebook advertising, says we pay cash and we close fast? And then they reach out to you, and the first thing they say when you talk to them is like, I'm in no hurry, I don't need to sell. Right? Even though you can see that they're going to foreclosure in the next couple of weeks. Or have you ever had someone tell you you're the only person that I'm talking to, when in reality they're talking to other people? Or they'll tell you I'm talking to 7 different people when you know they don't have time to talk to 7 different people. How many of you guys have ever filled out a form online, whether through Facebook, pay-per-click, whatever, and the person out to you like they're supposed to, and when you answer the phone, you tell them, I wasn't really interested, I was just looking. When in reality, if you could have bought it right then and there on the website, you would have bought it. Or how about the last time you guys walked into a store? What's the first 2 or 3 words when someone asks you, can I help you? It's usually, I'm just looking. You went to the store to buy something, but you lied to them because that's what we've been trained to do our whole lives. What does the homeowner steal from you? They'll steal your time, they'll steal your knowledge. And what does that look like? Lead comes in, you do the market research, you find out what the home is worth, you drive to the house, bring the contracts with you, sit in an appointment, 30 minutes, maybe 2 hours, and you drive back. All in all, 3-4 hours, right? Of your own time that you could have been using for prospecting something else. And all they wanted to do was tell you they were just shopping. They're just thinking about it, right? They're not even ready to sign a contract today. Have you guys ever had a homeowner offer to reimburse you for your time? No, they treated you like you owed them something. Have you ever had a homeowner ask you, how much it's going to cost to fix this? What's my house worth? How long is it going to take to sell in today's market? All sorts of additional information. That's not your responsibility, but you'll educate them because you want them to like you. And at the end, how many of those have offered to reimburse you for your knowledge? If the answer is no, then you're just like me, right? And this is what I did for many, many years. And so what are some of the misleading statements they'll give you? Raise your hand, right? I need to think about it. I need to think it over. I need to sleep on it. I need to pray on it. I need to talk to my husband, my wife, my son, my daughter, my neighbor, or my rich uncle. Maybe I need to talk to my accountant, my attorney, my realtor. They'll basically tell you whatever they need to tell you so that you'll leave them alone. Have you guys experienced this? And finally, they're going to hide from you. And we kind of jokingly refer to this as the prospect protection program, right? Like it's impossible to get a hold of these people after they've stolen all your knowledge and all your time. And so if the homeowner system today is to lie, steal, and mislead and hide from us, what is the typical process for buying a house? Not you guys, right? But someone newer to the industry. We qualify them. We're going to talk at them, and then we go for the close. What does that sound like? How much do you want for your house? How soon did you want to move? Tell me about the condition of the home. Are you the decision maker? Have you guys heard these questions? Have you guys said this, right? I've seen a lot of scripts in our industry. A lot of our scripts have this in here. What are we doing here, right? We're qualifying them. And then we're going to talk at them. Well, you know, your house is worth X because A, B, and C. We'll educate them on the market. We're going to tell them what investors are paying, why they need to work with us, and why we're so awesome. Explain to them how the process works. And we really like this part because we love hearing ourselves talk, right? We get to present. We get to share how smart we are. Does it help the homeowner the least bit when we're flexing and telling how smart and awesome we are? Does it help us at all? Not really, right? And then we go for the close. And a lot of us are either closing too hard or too soft. And there's 100 different ways to close. The one that's comical for me, right, is the sit and stare, standard practice at the car dealerships. There's the alternative close. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, you know, it's the middle of September. I can close at the end of the month or middle of October. And if they tell us they'd rather close at the end of the month or mid-October, now we know that we've got a pretty good chance of getting this seller, right? There's the, what would it take? You know, how much would I have to offer you right now for you to sign the contract today? And it sounds, I've heard people say, I've said it, and it doesn't sound that terrible when you say it in the moment. But how much does that sound like you're at a car dealership? Or you can have the worst possible close, which is what I did for the first 9 years of my career. Well, what do you think? And what's the natural answer to what do you think? I need to think about it. It's an absolute miracle. I made it this far in my career because I was blowing all this money in the first 9 years of my career, right? Asking the worst possible closing question. Another thing too is if you're waiting for the very last minute of the appointment to go for the close, what you end up doing is you're putting too much pressure on yourself and the homeowner, right? Because what happens is throughout this entire appointment, there's this steadily rising tension. And they're waiting for you to go for the close. Everyone knows about the trial close, right? You know, you're doing the assumptive close and so on. They're waiting for it, and they're just prepared. Their guard is raised this whole time, waiting for you to close, right? So if you're waiting for the close at the end of the appointment to go for the close, you're putting too much pressure on yourself and the homeowner. And so if the process today is you qualify them and they lie to you, you talk at them with how smart you are and they steal all information. And then when you go for the close, they mislead you and hide from you. How is that process working out for us today? It's probably not going very well, right? And so there's got to be a better way. And the good news is there is. The better way is to close in the first 5 to 15 minutes. Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, it's going to be yes or no. And you're not allowed to tell me I need to think about it, right? Again, I'll share with you how to say that professionally. But we go for the close at the very beginning. Why? Because now they can't squirrel away at the very end. And if they tell you in the first 5 to 15 minutes that they will absolutely not sign a contract today, well, let me ask this another way. Would you rather find out that they're absolutely not going to sign a contract with you? Would you rather find that out in the first 5 minutes or after an hour and a half? Probably best to find out in the first 5 to 15 minutes, right? So that's why we go for the close in the very beginning. And then we disqualify the rest of the appointment. And if we make it all the way to the end, then the natural conclusion is that they'll sign the contract. And so your job as a professional home buyer, because that's what you guys all are on this call. Your job as a professional home buyer is to be able to articulate exactly the situation the homeowner's in right now, right? What's keeping them up at night, what their pains are, why they're experiencing this. And also be able to articulate and repeat back to them what the ideal outcome is for this, what the perfect world for them is. And then you can figure out whether you can provide the outcome for them. So if you can describe the world of pain that they're in and the perfect outcome for them, and you can deliver that perfect outcome for them, how likely do you think they're going to work with you? And that's the job right? For you as a professional home buyer. And so for us, our process is we establish the rules. We set all expectations in the first 5 to 15 minutes of the appointment. We're going to spend the rest of the time extracting truth, meaning, and intent. We're going to extract the pain, why they need to sell to us. We're going to pull the price from them, all the decision makers, the time frame, wrapping up the close, and then preventing any kind of seller remorse. Okay. Now we got an hour, so we can't go through all of it. So I'm going to go through establishing rules and extracting pain today. Right. So the first thing is I want you guys to think about the last time you were upset with somebody, whether a spouse, a business partner, a vendor, a supplier, restaurant, whatever. The last 2 or 3 times you were upset with somebody, what happened? Were there unmet expectations? Were your expectations at one level and what you received was a different level? If so, that's typically what leads to frustrations. And so it's really important for us as part of our selling process, and hopefully your new selling process, is to set the proper expectations in the very beginning of the appointment. So what we want to do, again, first 5 to 15 minutes, we want to set the rules for the meeting. We're going to go over the homeowner's agenda. We're going to go over our agenda, and we're going to discuss what a clear outcome is. Now, I want you guys to think about the last time you went to a homeowner's house. What was their agenda? Was it, how about you walk through my house, take as many photos as you like, give me a number as you walk out the door, and I will call you in the next 2 to 4 weeks if you were the best offer? Is that typically the homeowner's agenda? Let me know. Chat, comment. Let me know if that's typically the agenda you run into. I know for me, that was typically the homeowner's agenda. What is our agenda as professional home buyers? To get a signed contract, to lock it up at that appointment, right? How far apart are we? Homeowners' expectations. Give me a number and I'll call you back if you're lucky. Our agenda, get a signed contract. We're pretty far apart, right? And so what we need to do in the first 5 to 15 minutes is to tell them that they're not allowed to think about it. We want to tell them what their agenda is, and I'll share with you how we do that. So we're going to tell them what their agenda is. We're going to tell them what our agenda is. And at the end, we're going to tell them it's going to be yes or no. And what a yes means is very strong. We're going to put everything in writing, right? There's no squeamishness or anything like that at the appointment. So here's what it sounds like. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Homeowner, for inviting me into your home. Can I share with you how these appointments generally go? These meetings generally go, about hour and a half. That's still a good amount of time for you. Typically, homeowners we worked with in the past, what they want to know is, how this process works, how much money they're going to get from it, and how soon they're going to get that money. Am I missing anything? Obviously, for me to figure out if this is a house we're going to buy, I'm going to have to ask you some questions. And some of these questions may come across as personal. Is that fair? And at the end, if it makes sense for us to work together, what that means is we're going to go ahead and put everything in writing. If at any time you're uncomfortable with the price, or you're just not really convinced I'm your guy, would you feel comfortable telling me no? Likewise, if I do not intend to buy your home, are you going to be okay with that? And you seem really nice. Some of the homeowners we talked in the past, they're really afraid to hurt our feelings. Instead of telling me no, they told me they needed to think about it. Can you promise me that you won't do that? And if I hear anything at the end besides a yes or a no, I'm just going to take that as a no. Is that fair? And that's it. Now I'm going to share with you all that went into that conversation. But was there anything in that conversation that would sound uncomfortable for you guys? Was there anything there they said, oh my God, I could never do that? I hope not, right? But is this what I promised in the beginning? I'm going to show you a professional way to tell a homeowner by the end of our conversation together, it's going to be yes, or it's going to be no. You're not allowed to think about it. So let's walk through each part of this conversation. First thing, thank you. Thank you for inviting me into your home. We want to remind them that this is a guest host relationship. We didn't just randomly show up at the door. We didn't door knock on their house today. Now we might have door knocked the day before, but we didn't door knock on their house today. They invited us into the home, right? So that's the first thing. Second thing, Can I take a moment to share with you how these meetings normally go? What have we done? Remember their agenda? Why don't you walk around, take some photos, give me a number, I'll call you back. We've just told them how this process normally works. How many homes do they sell a year? Not a lot. How many homes are we buying a month? We're trying to buy 10 a month, right? So who knows how the house buying process normally goes? We do. And so when we say, can I take a moment to share with you how these normally go? And they agree to that. Now we've gotten rid of the, why don't you give me the highest offer and I'll call you back if you win the lottery, right? Then we'll tell them, takes about 30 minutes, 45 minutes to an hour, whatever time frame you typically want to go with. And the reason why we do this is if they thought this appointment was going to be 15 minutes and they had to go somewhere, we want to know that now so we can head out, right? We're not going to stick around and make an offer in 15 minutes. You can't buy a house. You can't you cannot run a high percentage appointment in 15 minutes. Have I bought a house in 15 minutes or less? Absolutely. Would I do it again? Absolutely not, right? So we want to tell them it's going to take 45 minutes to an hour, because if they got to bounce in 10 minutes, let's just get that out of the way and reschedule the appointment now. Additionally, buying a house, selling a house, there's a lot of gravity in this process. If they didn't set aside more than 15 minutes, how serious are they about selling their house today? So we got to deal with that right now. We'll tell them the question homeowners want to know: how this process works, how much money I'm going to get, how soon I'm going to get it, right? Which is the typical 3 questions you get. For me to figure out I'm going to buy your house, we're positioning here. We were telling them we don't buy every house. Most homeowners think we buy every house. They think we're made of money. We're not. So we're positioning ourselves. For me to figure out if this is a house I'm going to buy, I'm going to have to ask you some questions. As a matter of fact, some of these questions may come across as personal. What are some questions we ask? How did you find yourself in this situation? Why are you in foreclosure? How far behind are you? What are your payments? What's your interest rate? Who else knows about this? Are these personal questions? Have you ever had a homeowner ask you ask them a question, they ask you, why do you need to know that? It's because you asked them a personal question without getting permission to ask a personal question. So we tell them, hey, for me to figure out this house I'm going to buy, I'm going to ask you some personal questions. Is that all right? Once they grant you permission, they will honor that permission throughout the rest of the appointment. And then we tell them again, if the answer is no, or the price doesn't work, will you let me know? We're empowering them to say no. How many salespeople have you guys dealt with where the salesperson said, please tell me no if you don't like me, right? By empowering them to say no, we're lowering their guard. Additionally, we'll tell them again, if I tell you no, are you gonna be okay with that? We're reinforcing that no. And then if it's a yes, we're gonna put everything in writing. Is that fair? We're telling them. There's a very good chance we could put everything in writing today. If we don't have this conversation right now, and we get to the very end and we ask for them to put everything in writing, we're like, whoa, where did this come from? So we want to tell them in the very beginning that if it makes sense for us to work together, we'll put everything in writing. And then we remove the, I need to think about it objection, right? Hey, you seem really nice. Some people don't want to hurt my feelings. They told me, instead of telling me no, they told me they need to think about it. Can you promise me you won't do that, right? So again, I ask you, could you guys say this? I mean, obviously this is recorded. You guys can watch this again later. But could you guys get this script and repeat this to a homeowner, right? Just practice that one script. I promise you, you will close more deals. Now, on top of all that, you want to go for no. You want to end the meeting sometimes to start the meeting. What does that mean? You're going to have some people that are going to be really difficult to work with, right? They're going to be like, give me your offer. What's your offer? What do we do with these people? We just tell them, hey, you know what? It sounds like you got this figured out. You've got all your options. You got time, you got money. I don't even know why I'm here. I should probably leave. And it's going to disarm them again, versus butting heads against them, right? If you're going to argue with somebody, how many times have you argued with a prospect and you won? Like, you might have won the argument, but you definitely didn't buy the house. So if someone tells us and they're being abusive or rude, we're going to take it away. Boy, it sounds like you got this figured out. I should probably head out. We don't buy every house. We should probably leave. And then this is like, oh crap, I pushed this sales guy too hard. And then when they say, yeah, I guess maybe so, they say, okay, well, now that it's over, what are you going to do? And then they'll tell you, and now you can have an actual real sales conversation. Additionally, scarcity, right? How do we create scarcity? because if it's a good deal, we'll find a way to make it work, right? And the point is the homeowner doesn't know that. So we tell them, it's like, hey, they say, well, we really need to think about it. I say, okay, hey, you need to think about it. I get it. Here's my biggest concern. You take the weekend and think about it. I've got another appointment this afternoon, 2 more tomorrow, and then 3 more on Friday. My biggest fear is you call me on Saturday, all my money's already gone. So if you're okay, if you're comfortable with that risk, I get it. But that's my biggest fear. And it's like, oh crap, I do need to make a decision today. So we're creating scarcity, even if it's, what's the word I'm looking for? Invented. But we're bringing it out, right? We're putting it on the table, letting them know they don't have time to shop around. And the last thing here for this part is you've had these homeowners. It's like, well, I want to find out what my house is worth. Right here, I need to fix the fascia here, or, replacing the windows or whatever. They're going to ask you all these questions. And you want to answer these questions because you want to be liked. It's a normal human feeling to want to be liked. But we are not in the business to be liked. We don't get paid to be liked. We get paid to buy houses. And so when someone says, well, what do you think it's going to cost to fix this? Boy, you just want to find out how much it's going to cost to repair this? Okay, well, I'm not a licensed contractor. What I can do is I can have my contractor give you a call, right? Or they say, well, I just want to find out what my house is worth. Okay, I get it. Well, I'm not a professional appraiser. I actually have a couple of appraisers. I can have them give you a call. They'll tell you exactly what your house is worth. And I say, oh, no, I want you to have I can't do that. I'm not an appraiser. But you know what? As a matter of fact, I got some friends, they're licensed realtors. So I can have them give you a call. They're like, well, I don't want that. It's like, well, the problem is I came over today to buy a house. Kind of seems like you're not ready to sell your house today. And they're like, well, I'm not. It's like, okay, well, I respect that, right? You're not ready to sell your house. I appreciate that. I should probably leave because I came here to buy a house. If you can't sell your house, I get it. I respect that. I should go. And that's a professional, maybe kind of harsh, but a professional way of saying, I'm not giving you all this information for free, right? So, other stuff. Hang on, let me go 1 second. Now, so that talked about establishing the rules for the meeting, okay? The next thing I want to talk about is establishing pain. We have a process. It's a 7-step process of buying a house. What we're going to go over is the 2 most important things. So we went over establishing rules. I argue the most important things because it allows us to get away with a lot of things that we do in our sales process. The second most important part is the pain. Because if someone doesn't have pain, why in the world would they sell it to you at a steep discount, right? So I really want to emphasize how important pain is. Now, you guys may have seen some crime movies. The last one I could think of was John Wick 3. There's a scene where they're shooting each other up in the club and he has to go see a doctor, right? And because he can't go to like a hospital. So he has to go to a veterinarian, 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever. And what happens oftentimes in these movies is there's no anesthesia, right? So there's a lot of pain. But the pain here is just a bullet wound, right? Painful. I get it. I've never experienced one, but it's a bullet wound. But it's not as painful as pulling the bullet out. And I want you guys to visualize this. Someone going through foreclosure, someone going through divorce, someone going through probate, dealing with HOA. Those are symptoms. That's all surface level pain. It's painful. It's more pain than you and I are going through today, but it's not the root of it. There's more pain underneath when we extract the bullet. Okay. Bear with me. It's not for the faint of heart, right? But there's levels to this, right? There's the symptom. This is the foreclosure notice. There's the reason they're in foreclosure. That's more painful. There's how this foreclosure is affecting their family, right? Wife's upset. They can't sleep. They're arguing all the time. There's how it's affecting the person, the individual. Having all this happen, it's painful to them. And then there's the financial cost and ultimately how they feel knowing all this is going on. How do they feel about it, right? That's all the different levels. So the surface level of foreclosure, a foreclosure notice, I used to think, oh, he's facing foreclosure. Bam, it's a deal. Let's get this done. No. Having foreclosure is just an indicator that we need to extract all the pain. So again, foreclosure notice, that's a bullet wound. Actual consequences to him, his family, that's pulling the bullet out, right? And so, why is this so important? There's been a lot of research done, right? Normally when I do this in front of an audience, I ask, what percentage of people do you think make decisions emotionally? What percentage do you think people make intellectually? Typically here, 70, 30, 80, 20, 90, 10, right? The truth of the matter is 100% of our decisions are made emotionally, 100%. We only justify it logically. How do we know this? Multiple research, people had suffering traumatic brain injuries. Part of the brain that processes emotions doesn't work. And these people are incapable of making decisions, the simplest decisions. They can't make them, right? So we know that people buy emotionally and they justify intellectually. And so how are we incorporating this in our business? Okay. I want you to think about if you went to a doctor, you got some back pain, right? You walk into appointment. I got 3:30 my time right here, right? You walk into a doctor's office and you say, "Doctor, I've got some back pain." And he looks at his watch and he says, "Oh man, I am so glad you came in here. I actually just had a cancellation at 4 o'clock. Why don't you go ahead and change and we're going to operate in 28 minutes. You're going to lose your mind. This doctor doesn't give a crap about me, right? So what do you want? You go into the doctor's back pain. What's he going to ask you? Tell me more about this back pain. How long has it been going on? What have you tried to do to fix it? Did that work? What else have you tried? How long has it been going on? What happens if we can't help you? Who else knows about this? What happens if we can't help you? Is it causing any of the problems? Right? And you're going to hear, I've been trying this, it's taking time off of work, it's costing me this. There's a whole level, right? Once you're talking about extracting pain for someone that's going through back pain. Same exact thing happens in foreclosure, right? Tell me more about this foreclosure. Well, I got my hours cut back. Oh, tell me more about that. Well, work has been slow. We haven't had as much work. So my boss got my hours back. Got it. How long has that been going on? Well, it's been going on for about, 6, 7, 8 months now. Got it. What have you tried to fix it? Try getting another job. Did that work? No. All right. What else have you tried? Try talking to my, my in-laws. They're looking at seeing if they can help. Okay. Did that work? No, they don't have the money to get me current. Got it. Well, what are you going to do? I want to stay in this area. It's important to stay close to the school for my kids. Okay. And how much do you think you're going to need for that? Is this affecting things at home? Yeah. My wife's unhappy about it. She can't sleep. Oh, really? Tell me more about that. Yeah. We've been arguing about this. How long has that been going on? Got it. Okay. Anything else you've tried? Right. But how different is I got a foreclosure notice in the mail or a foreclosure notice stapled to the door to I'm fighting with my wife at night. I can't sleep. I don't know what I'm going to do. Right. That's where we want to get them to. Not I have a foreclosure notice. We want to get them to the point where they're in massive pain. They need to do something. Okay. Because only then does it make sense for them to work with us. If it's just a foreclosure notice, in their mind, it's not a big deal. You and I know it's a big deal, but in their mind, it's not a big deal. It'll work itself out, right? We want to get them emotional, but it's not enough to get them emotional. We also want to get them spending the money. What does that sound like? Let's pretend we can help you out. We get you mortgage paid off and you got how much you need? $5,000. Okay, we can put $5,000 in your pocket. What are you going to do? Well, I'm going to finally do this. I'm going to take care of this. I'm moving on to this. Got it. Knowing that you can do all that, how does that make you feel? We want to go with the victory as well, right? Let's pretend we're able to help you. Tonight you go to bed. You can lay your head on your pillow and go to sleep and there's without a worry in the world. How would that make you feel? And so that's the pain component. So there's a lot that we went in there in a very short period of time. Like I said, we normally do this over 8 hours, but I want to give you the best part of what we do as far as the selling process. So, Brighton, what I want to do here is answer questions. And if we got some extra time, we can do some role play for somebody that can really just kind of help build this in, right? So they can incorporate this for their business.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead. So I know Charisse here in the chat was asking a quick question. Let's say
Sure.
it's not like a severe financial burden. So let's say they're not avoiding they're not avoiding foreclosure or something like that, but they're just looking to downsize or relocate. What process do you go through to peel back the onion, if you will, to really pull that bullet out? If it's not as on the surface level, what we would seem as serious. Does that make sense?
Sure, absolutely. So if it's just a matter of downsizing and relocating, for the most part, that doesn't necessarily fit in our buy box, right? And let's say that these aren't good leads. They're good leads. It's just the people we want to houses that we're buying have a strong need. They need to get this done now, like in the next 14 to 30 days, or there's just massive pain. So if someone's downsizing and relocating, I'm not saying they're not good leads. It's just those are harder people to work with, right? So if someone says I'm downsizing, my first instinct is, oh, you're downsizing, that's great. What did your realtor say about what the house is worth? What did he say to do? And this might sound scary for some of you guys kind of hearing me talk about this for the first time. It's like, well, I don't want to get a realtor involved, right? This is my lead. The reality is a realtor is an option for them. And it's better for us to battle it up front than to be blindsided later on, right? We get a signed contract. Oh, my realtor said this is not a good deal, right? So my first instinct is to find out, like, what did the realtor say? You know, because you were downsizing, obviously you're buying with a realtor, and have them tell us the hope, right? The hope is that they're going to tell us why the realtor sucks. Here's why I don't want to work with the realtor. You're going to hear why the realtor sucks, or I don't have time, or this needs to happen today, or I need cash, or whatever. Now we've got something to work with. But if it's the downsizing, that's not enough pain. It's got to be something tied to it. If you can uncover something else, fantastic. If you can't, and that's the end of it, that's the end of it.
Yeah. And I would assume, you know, here at Amplify, we generate most of our leads through Facebook marketing. And there's a lot of people that come through that, quote unquote, say they want, or they're downsizing or they're relocating. And often what we have found is that's like the surface level. I put it on a form. I don't want to admit maybe the actual situation that I'm in.
Yeah.
And it takes, pulling away, I think, approaching the way you mentioned earlier that, well, it sounds like, you know, your house is in perfect condition. It sounds like you're ready to list it. Why aren't you just listing it? Sounds like I'm not your buyer. I may not be your good fit. Like, what are you looking to do?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a really good strategy to use for some of these downsizing and relocating type of people. Right. So,
yep, pull them back and then let them tell you why why they won't let you out the door. Well, hang on. Oh, don't leave it, Brian. There's more.
Yeah. There's more. Great. Next question was, and I think it goes similar to our previous question, but what's the best way to penetrate a seller whose asking price is beyond market value? Obviously, in today's market, prices are inflated like crazy. Yep. You know, just as good as anybody there in Phoenix, but it's all over the country. Prices are inflated, and that's pretty common to receive that kind of seller knows best.
Yeah, absolutely. If someone says they want full market value, that's great. You deserve it. So what stopped you from doing that? Right? Like, I'm not going to fight them on that, right? Like, I want you guys to picture the buying dance, right? This arrangement differently. A lot of us feel like we have to close them, right? I'm the buyer, Brian's the seller. I got to close Brighton. So a lot of our approach, when you're really going, is, Brian, sounds like you got this all figured out. I mean, I'm honestly impressed. You know what your house is worth. You got all the time in the world. You want to get, you know, Zillow says your house is worth 300. You want 315? Go get 315. That's fantastic. What's stopping you from doing it? And then you might hear things like, oh, well, you know, I got this divorce. I got this job thing. I got whatever. Now that we've peeled back the onion, we can have a real conversation. But if you've got no pain, I can't buy your house. It's just the way it works. We buy houses from people that need us to buy the houses. We are an insurance policy that can help people in the toughest situations, but we can't help 95% of the population. We can help the 1 to 3% of the population that truly needs our help.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very easy as, let's say I'm a beginning or wholesaler. I'm so focused on getting the right comps and coming to prepare to give it as low ball offer as I possibly can. And lots of times we get caught up early on in the conversation that my comps don't match what they're asking. And we want to argue that
Irrelevant.
when it doesn't matter. Yeah. What matters is, why are they looking to sell? Why didn't they use a realtor? And why are they contacting you to receive a cash offer? Like what took them from A, not listing, to on B, asking for a cash offer? You
Yeah,
really need to understand that before you have the debate of how much the home is worth.
absolutely. And for us, we focus so much more on what they want, what their problems are, what their ideal outcome is, how much money they need. Because if we figure out how much they need and we figure out how much they owe, that's how much the offer needs to be. And now it's up to us to figure out whether we can pay that or not. We've had 2 grand slams in the last 30 days. It's unusual, right? This has never happened before. We bought one or end of last month. We bought it for, I want to say 230, and we wholesaled it for like 360.
Wow.
Right. And then we had another one that we bought it for 50,000. We closed on it because we didn't want anything going sideways in that one. They said 50,000. We closed as fast as we could. And then we resold it for 215. Right. But what were we doing there? We just figured out what they wanted, right? This lady, her kids were in prison. She just wanted $50,000 to move on with her life. That's all she wanted. We gave it to her, right? We didn't say, well, your house is worth this much. This is what we can pay. There's none of that. We figured out what her situation was, what her pain was, and what the perfect outcome was for her. And when she told us, if you can give me 50,000, that's it, right? So we didn't shoot ourselves in the foot making this offer that was way higher than what she wanted.
Mm-hmm. Great. I love that. So I'm sure you've received this a lot of times from sellers, where maybe a lot of people that are Amplify clients here are getting inbound leads from Facebook marketing. And lots of times they'll receive the concern, or like they'll reach out to the seller and they'll say, just curious what you'd offer me.
Mhm.
Right? I'm just curious. I'm just looking around. And often this is probably through text or phone call at the beginning. But what
Sure.
advice would you give to someone to start peeling back the onion, I guess?
Yeah.
There.
So the typical response we give to someone that says, what's your offer? Is I don't know. And the truth of the matter is, we don't know, right? We don't have to come up with some crafty answer. We don't know what we can offer, right? And so when someone says, like, what's your offer? Our canned answer is, I don't know what we can offer. And they're like, well, what do you mean you don't know? You call them in. It's like, well, my job right now is to find people that are interested in selling. And if I can find someone that's interested in selling, then for us, we can schedule an appointment for someone else on my team to actually come out and make you an offer that you can rely on. Were you hoping to get an offer from a stranger who hasn't seen your house, or are you looking for an offer for someone that can actually make an offer that you can count on? It's really that simple, right? Like, we overcomplicate this. Homeowners, I would say probably 5 to 7 years ago, would probably not ask you what's your offer. The only reason why they're asking what's your offer is because so many people are in our industry are cold calling people, making offers on the phone. And there are a lot of bad wholesalers out there agreeing to it. And if you got a bunch of wholesalers agreeing to make offers on the phone, what have we done? We've conditioned the homeowner to believe it's normal to make offers over the phone. So when someone says, what's your offer? Our answer is, I don't know, because the truth of the matter is, I don't know what I can offer. I can't possibly figure out what I can offer until I meet with you.
Yep.
So
it's just the fact of the matter is. And as a quick tip, guys, I'm just going to put a quick plug for if you're using the Amplify CRM to manage your leads here, and you have the mobile app downloaded, there's a really powerful way that you can actually, in the messaging portion of the mobile app, you can actually record a quick video. And I think recording a quick video, adding that personal touch, and just being completely transparent and honest, saying, I would love to give an offer, I just can't, because I need more information. I think it's a really easy way to just make it a little bit more personal and jump straight into it so that they feel more comfortable and possibly opening up instead of just through text or something like that. So just a quick tip there, you guys. So here's more of a surface level question. This one's from Tapti in the chat. She just says, how about if you can't get people to provide images on a house, you don't know what renovation needs to be done? So this is more even just breaking through the first barrier of building that rapport. Have you found any, what advice would you give to someone that's not even willing to maybe even set an appointment with you or something like that?
If someone's really difficult to work with, for us, we kind of move on, right? And this might sound counterintuitive, or it's easier said than done, right? Like, I'm blessed, right? We've got a massive operation. I just found out yesterday we got 24 in escrow. Like, we've never been that busy ever, right? So it's easier to be that way. But here's the thing. Let me just share a quick story here. I had a chance last week to hang out with a billionaire. Okay. The guy founded Priceline.com, YouBid, and so on. And in that room, he has every right to have the biggest ego in the room. But he was the humblest person in the room, far humbler than me, far humbler than most other people in the room. Right? 200 people in the room. He was the humblest person. And it's easy to say, well, maybe he became humble after he had all that money. Or he has all that money and success because he was humble, right? His employees loved him. He mentioned he's never had an employee quit on him ever in his career, right? So I bring this up because for us, our mindset, our approach is we have $1 million in the bank and we don't need the business. So we don't push, right? We're not moving forward. It's that someone says they got to figure it out. Someone's got time, whatever. It's like, hey, that's great. I'm not the buyer for you. Sounds like I got to figure it out. So we do a lot of takeaway in case you guys can't tell.
Okay, sorry, you cut out there for a sec for me. No, the takeaway is
Sorry.
so powerful. We highly recommend using the takeaway any possible chance you can. But what I find fascinating there too, Steve, is you're more focused on providing solutions and then making money.
Absolutely.
Right? When you're
Service
actually
first.
trying to help people solve their housing problem, we've seen this consistently with our clients across the board. We do like a YouTube show called the Amplify REI Show, and those people on there are constantly focused on solving problems instead of feeding their wallets. And those that do that typically find more success, and their wallets are fed more.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean, if you think about it, right? Your compensation is directly proportional to the size of the problem you can solve.
Yep.
Right. And if we can solve really difficult problems, then we get paid more. Now, have we had other people tell us that we're vultures? Right? Journalists browbeating us? Absolutely. To which I always respond, you solve their problem. You go bring 300,000 out of your pocket. You go fix the problem. Right? You go pay them full market value. They're not doing that.
Yep. I love that. So let's take, if you don't mind, we'll kind of change it up a little bit.
Sure.
What if you're doing virtual wholesaling? How would you approach, because a lot of the things we've talked about here are kind of in-person tactics, go to the home, build rapport there. How would you change it virtually? Or is it just the same
We don't
way?
change it at all. We don't change it at all. Because for us, again, it's solving the problems and human connection. You know what? I didn't fully answer the question earlier about the photos. If the person will not give us the photos, again, they're insufficiently motivated. I want you to think about another example, right? Bear with me with these stories here. All right. Let's say, Brighton, you're sealing envelopes and you got a paper cut, right? Inconvenience, maybe cursing under your breath, but that's the extent, right? Okay. Let's say you're slicing oranges and you cut your finger off. Are you going to call each emergency room, ask them if they take your insurance and how much it's going to cost for a night in the hospital or outpatient? Probably not going to be comparison shopping. You're probably going to do whatever it is they ask you to do so you can get your finger back on. When someone's in distress and you say, Brighton, in order for me to figure out if I can buy your home or not, I'm gonna need some photos. And Brian says, to hell with you. I'm not giving you photos. Brian is insufficiently motivated and disqualified from working with me, right? We don't have $1 billion in the bank. We can't buy every house. So we can only buy the houses from people that are qualified to work with us. And again, it's a different mindset, right? I want you guys to approach this business. Leon Johnson, someone I look up to a lot, he said this: I'm not trying to buy your house with my money. That is not the scenario here. You might think that. What's happening here, and he doesn't say this out loud, right? This is mindset. What's happening here is you're trying to buy my money with your house. Why should I give you my money versus all those other homeowners with houses? Right? You need to qualify for my money. I'm not qualifying for you. So once you get that mindset in place, someone says, I don't want to take photos for you. Okay, well, then it sounds like you're not really prepared to sell your house today. I get it. I wish you the best.
Yeah. I love it. I think one of the most powerful phrases I've heard recently is just, I'm not your buyer. I'm not your buyer. It's a very simple phrase.
I'm not a buyer for your home.
I'm not your buyer. But if I were, or if I'm not, then what are you going to do? And just opening it up and allowing them to tell you and talk.
Absolutely.
So let's see here. We have a few more questions. Yeah, so Tracy, I think that answers your question as far as if we were doing virtual wholesaling. If it's not answered, please type in the chat. We can provide some more context there. The other thing too, you guys, is with technology, with COVID, and how comfortable people have become doing virtual calls, whether it's FaceTime, Zoom, or whatever, you can basically walk the property virtually if you can create the motivation over the phone. I hope, okay, I'm not, am I frozen? I think we're okay.
No, we're good.
Okay, good. Sorry, I thought it was frozen for a sec. But there's lots of ways, you guys, that you can use tools, technology to scale beyond your local market. And obviously here at Amplify, we're more than willing to help you learn some of those tactics and tools. But think outside of the box a little bit. There's lots of ways to solve problems if you're willing to find a way to do it. And I think you put it great, Steve, which I think comes from Think and Grow Rich, if I'm not correct, but correct me. But the amount of money you make is a byproduct of the problems that you solve.
Absolutely.
So great. Any other questions, you guys? All right, here's one. So if this is a funny question from George here. What if they tell you from the get-go, I already have a couple of offers from other investors. Tell me your offer.
So you care to role play this?
Sure, I can do it. Or hey,
so you're George, right? So you go ahead and read that back to me.
I'll be George. Where'd it go? All right. So yeah, Steve, I already have a couple of offers from other investors. I'm just curious, what's your offer?
Oh, you already have a couple of other offers?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So it sounds like you're kind of shopping things around, trying to get the highest possible offer.
Yeah, you could say that. I'm more so just curious to see, what's out there and what you can give me.
Okay. So, but the highest offer is the most important to you.
Yeah, probably. Probably.
Sorry, my internet's kind of buggy.
No, it's all good. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty interested in the best offer. So.
Okay. Well, that makes total sense. So I got some bad news. In all the years of all the houses I've bought, we've never been the highest offer. As a matter of fact, if we were the highest offer, I'd be kind of concerned because that would tell me we probably overpaid for the property. So knowing that I'm not going to be the highest offer, should I leave?
Well, I guess I'm just still curious to hear what you're about. I mean,
it's not going to be. Well, I guess let me ask you this, Brian. We went back and surveyed the homeowners that we worked with and asked them, like, you know, even though we weren't the highest offer, he decided to go with us. What do you suppose they told us when we asked them why?
I have no idea, but why did they do it?
Well, some of us said that they really appreciated that we can close quickly, all cash, and they didn't have to worry about, you know, this dragging on and on. I don't suppose that's important to you.
No, it's important to me. I want to make sure when I do it, it's done. I don't want to have to worry about it anymore.
Okay, so it sounds like maybe a reliable offer is more important than the highest offer.
Yeah, you could say that. Oh, a fake offer doesn't mean anything to me if I can't actually get it. So yeah, reliable is important.
Got it. Got it. Okay, that makes sense. So, you know, let's pretend I didn't show up today. I mean, you already had a few offers. If I didn't show up, there's got to be one of those offers that you really enjoyed, that you really liked.
Yeah. I I haven't enjoyed enough to accept the offer, so I guess I'm still shopping
Got it.
around, still trying to find the right offer.
Oh, what was? There's got to be one of those offers that's the best so far.
Yeah. I guess you could say there's one that's the best. I'm not quite ready to do it yet.
Oh, got it. Okay, what's wrong with it?
It's just not quite the price that we were looking for. And I don't know, the guy that made it isn't. I didn't really enjoy talking to him too much.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Well, I mean, I've already taken my offer to the table, so let's just figure out what that offer is. So, what was that offer, and what were you hoping to hear?
So they offered me 150, and I was hoping more, a little bit closer to like 160, 170.
160, 170. Okay. So you got an offer 150, and that number did not work for you.
No, I mean, I guess it could. I'm looking for a little bit more. I was hoping to get a little bit more.
Got it. Okay. So, but what if 150 is the best you got? What are you gonna do?
It's a good question. I guess I'm gonna probably have to take it. But we can be a little patient. Just I was hoping we could find someone else that could give us a little bit better offer.
Okay. So then, I mean, let's pretend though, like we were able to do 160. I'm not saying that we could, but let's pretend I could do 160. What would happen then?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I 160 is what we're looking for. So I think we would, if we felt comfortable with it, and my wife, we'd probably be ready to move on it.
Okay. And what would you and your wife need to have happen for you to feel comfortable with it?
We need to just discuss, just make sure like the timing's going to be right. We obviously have the 2 kids at home, and we need to be able to move. It's just, we just want to make sure it's the right time and all that stuff.
That makes sense. Okay. So it seems to me, Brian, and you said, tell me if I'm mistaken. It sounds to me it's probably time to get your wife involved in this.
Yeah, I mean, I tell her all the conversations that I'm having, but she's typically hanging out with watching the kiddos while I kind of just been dealing
Sure.
with
No,
this.
that's of course, that makes total sense. But you can't do anything until she gets involved.
Yeah, we like to make the decisions together. I wouldn't sign anything unless she felt comfortable with it as well.
Yeah. So when can we, reschedule those meetings, or we can have the 3 of us on and, work out all the details?
It's a good question. The evenings are
Anyway,
gonna be
so this
best.
is just my roundabout way. Like all I did
Yeah.
was like, you got multiple offers. This is the direction I'm going to take it. Right. I'm going
Yeah.
to tell them that I'm not going to beat the offers. Again, this is the takeaway, right? Like I'm not going to be the highest offer. So knowing that, should I leave? They're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So we've set the expectations. We're not going to be a high offer, the highest offer. We're going to tell them reasons why they might want to work with us over somebody else. And then you can see, like, just taking someone off, like, well, I'm not the highest offer. we can disarm the other person. Like, well, I don't want you to leave. Like, don't you want to give? Like, no, I'm not your highest offer, but we can backdoor this.
Yeah. And it allowed you to maybe discover some of the other underlying issues. Like, I need to work with my wife on this. I think a lot of people love a reliable offer is better than the highest offer. There was a lot of comments on that. So, all right, I think we got time. If are you still good if we do like one more question? Steve,
Yeah, absolutely. I got another 5 minutes.
Yep. Okay. So, hey, Mike, I'm going to unmute you if you want. I know you raised your hand, so you should be able to talk now if you want to unmute. If you don't have a question, go ahead and lower your hand and we can move on. But I figured it'd just be a little easier. I know you raised your hand, so. All right, well, I'm gonna, all right, lower your hand. Okay, awesome, no worries. Okay, well, any other last tidbits of advice, Steve, before we kind of wrap things up?
Khalil has a question.
Oh, right here. Is never been getting a seller to agree. My issue is finding a buyer that is willing to buy when all the numbers are saying the deal is great. How do you deal with that scenario? So really, how do you find a good buyer?
I mean, really, the scenario here, it sounds like you have a non-serious buyer. And so for us, we can be a bit difficult, right? We're in the Phoenix market. We can be a little bit difficult to work with, but we're pretty serious about our business. And if any buyers waste our time, they're blacklisted, right? I mean, we've got a reputation in town. So if someone says that they like our number and then we send them the deal and they pass, they're dead to us. And for better or for worse, that's how we operate. And so I would say, go find a new buyer. And I would give that buyer one more chance. Like, hey, you said this is a number. We got you that number. You're telling me that this doesn't work for you. Because if you're telling me that's fine, that's okay. I just need to know so that I no longer call you on the next deals.
I love it.
I run a business here, right? This is not a game.
You're doing the same thing to your buyers as you are your sellers. It's the takeaway. Like, if you want our business, take it seriously. And if you don't, then we'll find someone else and we're not a good fit. Right. I think a lot of people as a wholesaler want to go build this giant buyers list, right? And they're going to build, thousands of buyers. And that's all good and dandy. But all that really matters is that you have a buyer that's actually going to buy, right? A reliable buyer is better than a lot of buyers. Right. Right. Just kind of taking it full circle. So
yeah, if you want, like, there are guys, right, that have these crazy disposition arms and they can get the most amount of money, which is great, right? But to have that business, you also need to have someone in your office who's selling those deals and building those relationships and holding those people accountable. But for most operators, right, 90% of operators, you can't necessarily get the highest offer, but again, you can get the most reliable offer because you have guys in your pocket. If they said yes, it's a done deal.
Yeah.
And you can go on to get your next deal. You don't have to worry about that, right? It's not keeping you up at night. It's not keeping you up at night anymore.
Absolutely.
Right. And so it looks like you got one of those buyers that's wasting your time. You just move on, scrub them from your list, block them on Facebook.
They are no longer a part of your business. Well, Steve, we can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for your time. I hope everyone that attended this call and watches the recording later realizes there's so much room for growth in your sales process. And if you're not role playing and if you're not practicing consistently, you're not sharpening the saw. There's so many different ways. And I just wanted to put a plug. This wasn't required from Steve, but we wanted to put a plug out there. If you want to hire Steve and his team to coach you more in your business, I'm going to drop the link here so that you can go check it out. You can sign up if you want to get started with his coaching program. I know it's well worth the investment. You're going to close way more deals from learning from Steve and his team than you would otherwise. The investment's going to be well worth it. And then lastly, if you're not currently an Amplify client, and you would like to start receiving more inbound leads, be able to attend more workshops like these, attend a lot of our training calls, use our CRM and stuff like that. I'm also going to drop in the chat a calendar link so that you can go ahead and book a time with one of our team members. If you have any questions or concerns, whatever it may be, they're there to help answer those questions. So this second link I'm dropping here is to book a time with our team. So first link is Steve, second link is for us. Steve, thank you. We really, really appreciate it. It was golden nuggets all over the place. And hopefully we can do some more business together in the future. If there's anything we can do here at Amplify to support you, please let us know. We're more than happy to do anything we can to do that. All right.
Thank you for having me. It's absolutely my pleasure. I hope people go out there and start crushing it and closing more deals.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All
Have
right.
a great day. See ya.